Hello, everyone. Welcome back to 3 News Now. I'm Stephanie Haney. It's Thursday, September 24th. I've got your top headlines from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Thank you for choosing to be here to get filled in on what's impacting you here in Northeast Ohio and the stories that everyone is talking about. First up, we'll take a look at what happened in Louisville, Kentucky, after a grand jury indicted one ex-officer for his actions, not for the killing of Breonna Taylor, but for his actions on that night. Yesterday, Dwight Mitchell with the Louisville Metro Police Department said that 127 people were arrested during protests last night in Louisville, Kentucky. The people who were arrested for doing things like damaging buildings, removing concrete barricades, and unlawfully assembling. The unlawful assembly part comes from the fact that the city had put a state of emergency in place because they were concerned about what might happen when the results from the grand jury came out tied to the criminal investigation related to the killing of Breonna Taylor. There was a curfew put in place at 9 p.m. through 6:30 a.m., and that was to run for 3 days from yesterday, so through Saturday. However, people ignored that and were out protesting and demonstrating in Louisville, Kentucky. And throughout those demonstrations, 2 Louisville Metro Police were shot yesterday. They are in stable condition and are expected to recover. LMPD Chief Robert Schroeder said that there is a suspect in custody related to those shootings. Now, how did we get here? Breonna Taylor, a 26-year-old EMT, was killed on the night of March 13th in her home while police executed what was called a no-knock warrant. Now, since then, the city of Louisville has outlawed the no-knock warrant. A no-knock warrant is when police can come to your property, not identify themselves, and forcibly enter your home. Well, that is no longer something that is possible in Louisville, Kentucky, but that did happen that night, and there were 3 police there that entered into her apartment that night. Breonna Taylor was shot multiple times after her boyfriend shot at police, who by all accounts did not know that it was police entering that home and was legally permitted to have a firearm. Well, the grand jury in the criminal investigation of this case recommended 3 counts of first-degree wanton endangerment against former Louisville police officer Brett Hankison, who was fired in June for the way that he responded that night. Now, these charges were not for firing at Breonna Taylor. They were not related to the death of Breonna Taylor. They were for the way that Hankison discharged his weapon and the fact that bullets entered other apartments. So it was about the neighbors. It was about the wanton disregard for possible death or injury to the neighbors. This is a Class D felony. So a Class D felony carries a possible prison sentence of 1 to 5 years. Hankison has been indicted on 3 of these, so if he is convicted on 3 of these charges of first-degree wanton endangerment, he could face anywhere from 1 to 15 years in prison, depending on how the sentencing would go if they were sentenced to run back-to-back or at the same time. Now, just to give you an idea of a little bit of context about what a Class D felony is, other Class D felonies include eavesdropping or the unauthorized use of a credit card. So none of the other officers who were involved in the events that led up to the death of Breonna Taylor on March 13th have been indicted, and no more criminal charges are expected related to that case. Not for Myles Cosgrove, who is believed to have fired the shot that killed Breonna Taylor, and not for Jonathan Mattingly. Both of them have been placed on administrative reassignment right now. Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron said that those officers were justified in firing in self-defense based on the way the law is in Louisville, Kentucky, leading some people to question whether it's time to change that law in Louisville. Now, Cameron did say that the FBI is investigating civil rights issues related to the killing of Breonna Taylor, specifically related to the obtaining of the warrant to enter Breonna Taylor's home. Now, demonstrations were not just limited to Louisville, Kentucky. Here in Cleveland, there have been 2 demonstrations, at least, tied to this that we're aware of at this time. The first was outside of the Justice Center. The second was a larger event at the Free Stamp at Willard Park here in downtown Cleveland. And the common message at these events has been a rally cry for justice and change. LaTanya Goldsby from Black Lives Matter 216 says that The call for justice and change begins with demanding changes in the way we see our communities policed. Cleveland NAACP President Danielle Sidnor said on Wednesday that the grand jury's decision did not come as a surprise, and she was not alone. Cleveland Browns wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. tweeted vaguely but widely understood to be in response to what happened with the grand jury return in the Breonna Taylor situation. OBJ tweeted, "Disgusted, heartbroken, but the worst part about it all is I'm not shocked." So Sidnor of the NAACP said that many of our police departments have policies in place that harm our communities that need to be remedied, and we just need something that happens coming from the federal level on down to put better processes in place to remedy what we see coming out of our police departments. So she's calling for action at the federal level in order to put different policies in place so that people, innocent people, do not have their lives taken at the hands of the police. Cleveland State University law professor Gordon Friedman said that we really need to re-examine the law nationally as well as it relates to going into people's homes to exercise search warrants. Again, that is something that did happen in Louisville, Kentucky after this. The no-knock warrant is no longer possible, and that law is actually called Breonna's Law. So here in Cleveland, the last time that there were demonstrations in Breonna Taylor's name was the weekend in June when she would have turned 27 years old. There was a national movement at that time called Say Her Name, and 27 balloons were released on the campus of Cuyahoga Community College. The conversation around the death of Breonna Taylor is not over. It is very much just beginning. A lot of people not happy with this coming out of the grand jury, this recommendation for charges, these indictments coming out yesterday in Louisville, Kentucky. We'll continue to keep you updated on WKYC.com and in our WKYC app with that. Looking ahead to next week, Tuesday is the first presidential debate. That's with our current president, Donald Trump, and Democratic presidential nominee and former Vice President Joe Biden. And that's going to be held here in Cleveland. It's from 9 to 10 p.m. on Tuesday, September 29th. The fact that there's a major focus on COVID-19 and health is bringing local health disparities to the front of the stage here in Cleveland. Now, the two will be facing off at the Cleveland Clinic Main Health Campus, which is in the Fairfax neighborhood here in Cleveland, where many people don't have access to the world-class health care that is provided by the Cleveland Clinic. According to the Ohio Department of Minority Health, African American babies in Cleveland specifically are 42% more likely to die by their first birthday than white babies. The disparities in healthcare are also seen in the COVID-19 pandemic, where Black people make up 15% of the population in Summit County, but are 24% of the COVID-19 patients. Cleveland Clinic urologist Dr. Charles Modlin recently said that we understand the Cleveland Clinic's role and responsibility is to play a role in improving the health of the community. First thing, we need to recognize that these healthcare disparities exist. Recognize that everyone can play a role in terms of improving these health disparities. Now, the relationship between the Cleveland Clinic and the Fairfax neighborhood has definitely been tense over the years. The hospital, where its main clinic, where its main health campus is, continues to buy up land in that neighborhood where families have lived for generations. And that presents a problem for families that want to continue to live there as the clinic buys up that land, and that land is then no longer available for the people who could previously afford it at the prices that they were living there. Cleveland Clinic is also Northeast Ohio's largest employer and Ohio's second largest employer overall. Now, Ward 6 Council Representative Blaine Griffin recently said there is an opportunity to talk about how we are changing the narrative in working with the clinic to make more community investments. So it'll be interesting to see if that comes up in the conversation at the presidential debate on Tuesday. Several of those topics have already been announced. COVID-19, of course, will be one of them, and so will be the racial justice issue that the entire nation has been reckoning with. And as we see by this story, the two things very much hand in hand in this particular place, especially here close to home in Cleveland. Now, as we enter into the flu season, a lot of people are wondering, how can I tell the difference between the flu and COVID-19? If you take nothing else from this, know that it is impossible to tell without a COVID-19 test. Those are the unfortunate facts. The symptoms of both COVID-19 and the flu include body aches, sore throats, fever, cough, shortness of breath, fatigue, and headaches. And it's actually possible to have the flu and COVID-19 at the same time, making it that much more difficult to tell if you have this highly contagious, potentially more so fatal disease for people who are in those higher risk categories, or if you have the flu that we've dealt with for quite some time. Now, there are some differences, however, so here are some things that you can watch out for. People with the flu typically feel the worst during the first week of having the flu. People with COVID-19 might be sicker longer and feel the worst during the second or third week of having COVID-19. COVID-19 is also more likely to cause a loss of taste or a loss of smell, but not everyone experiences that symptom. And also, we're talking about likelihoods here. These rules are not hard and fast, so it is possible that you could have those experiences with the flu as well. Now, here is a big difference as well. The flu has a shorter incubation period. So that means after you're exposed to the flu, it can take 1 to 4 days for you to feel sick, compared to coronavirus, where it can take 2 to 14 days from exposure for you to experience those symptoms. Now, because we know from medical professionals that it's possible to spread these things before you actually show the symptoms, that becomes an issue when it comes to the possible spread of this. And also, experts say that COVID-19 is more contagious than the flu. Here's another big difference, obviously. The flu has a vaccine, and we do not yet have a COVID-19 vaccine. Health officials are saying that they do want to see record numbers of people getting the flu shot this year, and the point of that is so hospitals are not overwhelmed with 2 epidemics at once. I got my flu shot yesterday. You can get it at many pharmacies. Many are offering free or discounts. Check out your local pharmacies. We also have information about that on WKYC.com and in our WKYC app. Here's a big similarity, though, and something to keep in mind. Precautions against spreading COVID-19 are precautions that will also help not spread the flu. That includes wearing your mask in public, keeping your physical distance, washing your hands, and being outdoors when you can, not being in close proximity to people in in indoor spaces, and also avoiding those large groups. Last night, let's talk about Major League Baseball again. Last night, the Tribe did it again with a walk-off homer, and this was from Jordan Luplow. This was his second home run of the year, and the Tribe beat the Chicago White Sox 3-2. The White Sox are now second in the American League Central behind the Minnesota Twins. The Tribe are now third in the American League Central, and they are all going to the playoffs next week. That became official 2 days ago, when we saw that Jose Ramirez walk-off homer that clinched the playoffs for the Tribe. The Tribe play the Sox again tonight at 6:10. So if they win tonight, that'll be the 4th game in the series. They're hoping for a sweep tonight. They're up 3-0 in the series right now. Zach Plesac is pitching for the Tribe, and Dallas Keuchel is pitching for the Chicago White Sox. Here's a story that we need to let you know about. Cleveland's first internet radio station, Oh Wow, will have its last broadcast on October 2nd. This is truly the end of an era here in Cleveland. The ratings for the station are up 20% from last summer, but because advertisers have been impacted so much by COVID-19, they're not able to push through the pandemic because they just don't have the revenue that they've had in the past. So they will be shutting down on October 2nd. Now, this is personal for our 3 News senior health correspondent, Monica Robbins, because she has been the host of Naked Brunch on Oh Wow since 2018. Oh Wow first began streaming here in Cleveland over the internet in February of 2015. Truly the end of an era. It will be sad to see them go. That last broadcast again on October 2nd. One thing that we do want you to share with us today is we want to know what fall is looking like for you so far. We want to see your early fall photos, whether that's foliage or your decor or your first pumpkin spice latte, whatever it is, we want to see that. We want to share it on our TV shows today and also online on our social media platforms and on our website and in our app. So here's how you can share those with us. You can text us a photo at 216-344-3300, or you can open up the WKYC app and you'll see a call to action in a bright orange bar right there. It'll ask you to show us your early fall photos so that we can share them on our TV shows, online, and on social media. And also, You can watch all of our TV broadcasts on the WKYC app for free by opening the app and clicking the watch button, which you see right there at the bottom. So if you do send us something, make sure you include your name, where you're from, and contact information, so your phone number or an email, so that we can let you know that we plan to use whatever you've sent us, whether that's a photo or a video, so that you can watch for it. That's it for your early update for 3 News Now on Thursday, September 24th. I'll be back here at 3 p.m. as soon as we get those updated numbers in from the Ohio Department of Health, and I will see you then. Everyone stay safe, be well, enjoy the rest of your afternoon. See you back here in a little bit. I'm Stephanie Haney.